You are not here by accident. There is something within you, silent yet powerful, urging you to seek answers. Maybe you've tried self-discipline, made plans, built habits, even listened to hundreds of motivational talks, and yet you still feel stuck, procrastinating, tired, doubting yourself. Let me be clear, the problem is not your willpower. You are not weak, you are not lacking ambition. The real issue is that your brain has been programmed incorrectly, not by you, but by your past, your fears, the noise of society, and unconscious habits. It reacts based on old wounds, avoids discomfort, and craves ease. No one ever taught you how to train your mind, how to master your inner voice, control your reactions, and become as resilient as a rock in the face of a storm. But today, that can change. This video will give you 9 powerful mental weapons tools to reprogram your brain from the inside out, based on Stoicism, psychology, neuroscience, and practical discipline. If you're ready, let's begin. Pain conditioning. Number 1. Pain conditioning. Pain is not your enemy, it's your training ground. And if you're serious about building a mind that cannot be broken, then you must step into pain not with fear, but with purpose. Like weights in a gym, pain is resistance, and resistance is how you build strength. Avoiding pain is avoiding growth. You cannot become unshakable while clinging to comfort. Your mind is forged in fire, not comfort. The truth is brutal, but liberating. Your brain does not evolve when you feel good. It evolves when it's under pressure. When you're uncomfortable, when you're facing fear, when you're doing what you don't want to do. That is when your nervous system rewires. That's when you stop being a prisoner of instinct and become the commander of your mind. Most people never win, not because they lack talent, but because they lack tolerance for pain. I want the reward without the effort. They want the glory, but not the grind. They want transformation, but not the discomfort that births it. And that's where they break, not from failure, but from resistance to suffering. Comfort becomes their addiction. Avoidance becomes their cage. But you're here for something more. You're here to train pain into power. When you engage in pain conditioning, you are retraining your brain's reward system. You override its default craving for instant pleasure and teach it a higher truth that dopamine hits harder after discipline. The satisfaction you feel after doing what you feared, that's the real chemical reward. And unlike the fleeting hit of a dopamine spike from social media or sugar, this reward lasts. It builds self-respect. It rewires identity. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is not a poetic metaphor. It's neuroscience. Your brain obeys what you repeat. If you consistently train it to seek comfort, it becomes fragile. But if you train it to associate effort with reward, then it stops fearing pain and starts feeding off it. That is the core of mental toughness. That is how you become unbreakable. The difference between those who stay average and those who rise, it's not luck, it's not motivation, it's how they treat pain. The average person runs from it. The mentally elite run toward it, knowing that every ounce of struggle is sharpening the sword within. When David Goggins runs until his feet bleed, he's not chasing pain. He's building an unshakable mind. His success doesn't come from quotes. It comes from doing hard things on purpose. Over and over, pain approached with intention becomes a form of emotional inoculation. Each time you endure a small discomfort, waking up early, embracing cold water, pushing through a difficult task. You build mental antibodies. You're conditioning your mind to face, not flee. You're saying, "This hurts, but I'm still in control." And every time you win that battle, your identity changes. You're no longer someone who avoids hard things. You're someone who conquers them. Let this be your new standard. Do something difficult every day, not to punish yourself, but to prepare yourself. Because life will test you, and when it does, you don't want comfort as your coach. You want pain trained and weaponized, standing behind you like a loyal soldier. Pain doesn't stop you, fear of pain does. And when you condition your mind through chosen suffering, fear dissolves. You become mentally bulletproof. Not because life is easy, but because you've trained in fire. Pain is not the enemy. Pain is your personal trainer. Comfort makes you weak. Chosen struggle makes you unstoppable. Number 2, identity hack. Identity hack. You don't act based on what you want. You act based on who you believe you are. That's the brutal truth. You've tried motivation. You've tried planning. But every time you take one step forward, your subconscious pulls you 2 steps back. Why? Because your brain isn't following your goals. It's obeying your identity. If you carry the silent belief that you're lazy, weak, inconsistent, unworthy, your brain will sabotage anything that contradicts that belief. This isn't failure. This is programming. This is why you need the identity hack. It is the art of rewriting the invisible script that runs your life. It is about defining with clarity and conviction who you choose to be, not who you've been told you are. The version of you that is disciplined, unafraid, relentless, unstoppable. When you master identity, you unlock a version of yourself that doesn't ask for permission to grow. It commands. But first you must understand why you've been trapped. You weren't born with doubt. It was downloaded into you through criticism, failure, comparison, trauma, and repetition. People said you weren't good enough, and worse, you believed them. Then you began protecting your limits. I'm not a morning person. I've always been this way. These aren't truths. They are identity cages you've mistaken for personality. And the brain, it obeys. It adapts behavior to match identity. Psychologists call it the self-schema, the brain's blueprint of who you are. If the blueprint says, "I'm a failure," your actions will collapse to fit that mold. But rewrite the blueprint and your habits follow. Muhammad Ali didn't wait for proof. He said, "I am the greatest." When no one believed it, including himself, but his brain heard it. And when the brain hears a command often enough, it reshapes reality to match. So how do you hack your identity? You begin by choosing it. Say it out loud. I finish what I start. I show up no matter how I feel. Speak it every morning, every night, and every time you feel small. Even when it feels fake, say it louder, then act in alignment. One small act of courage, one commitment, honored. That's how you convince the brain this is real. You don't become what you want. You become what you believe. Act as if you already are the version you dream of becoming, and the brain will follow. But belief alone isn't enough. To make identity stick, you must reinforce it. And that's where the real war begins. The daily rituals that rewire the mind. Repetition ritual.
Waking up early, embracing cold water, pushing through a difficult task. You build mental antibodies. You're conditioning your mind to face, not flee. You're saying, "This hurts, but I'm still in control." And every time you win that battle, your identity changes. You're no longer someone who avoids hard things. You're someone who conquers them. Let this be your new standard. Do something difficult every day, not to punish yourself, but to prepare yourself, because life will test you. And when it does, you don't want comfort as your coach. You want pain trained and weaponized standing behind you like a loyal soldier. Pain doesn't stop you. Fear of pain does. And when you condition your mind through chosen suffering, fear dissolves. You become mentally bulletproof, not because life is easy, but because you've trained in fire. Pain is not the enemy. Pain is your personal trainer. Comfort makes you weak. Chosen struggle makes you unstoppable. Number 2, identity hack. Identity hack. You don't act based on what you want. You act based on who you believe you are. That's the brutal truth. You've tried motivation. You've tried planning. But every time you take one step forward, your subconscious pulls you 2 steps back. Why? Because your brain isn't following your goals. It's obeying your identity. If you carry the silent belief that you're lazy, weak, inconsistent, unworthy, your brain will sabotage anything that contradicts that belief. This isn't failure. This is programming. This is why you need the identity hack. It is the art of rewriting the invisible script that runs your life. It is about defining with clarity and conviction who you choose to be, not who you've been told you are. The version of you that is disciplined, unafraid, relentless, unstoppable. When you master identity, you unlock a version of yourself that doesn't ask for permission to grow. It commands it. But first, you must understand why you've been trapped. You weren't born with doubt. It was downloaded into you through criticism, failure, comparison, trauma, and repetition. People said you weren't good enough, and worse, you believed them. Then you began protecting your limits. I'm not a morning person. I've always been this way. These aren't truths. They are identity cages you've mistaken for personality. And the brain, it obeys. It adapts behavior to match identity. Psychologists call it the self-schema. The brain's blueprint of who you are. If the blueprint says, I'm a failure, your actions will collapse to fit that mold. But rewrite the blueprint and your habits follow. Muhammad Ali didn't wait for proof. He said, I am the greatest. When no one believed it, including himself, but his brain heard it. And when the brain hears a command often enough, it reshapes reality to match. So, how do you hack your identity? You begin by choosing it. Say it out loud. I finish what I start. I show up no matter how I feel. Speak it every morning, every night, and every time you feel small. Even when it feels fake, say it, louder. Then act in alignment. One small act of courage, one commitment, honored. That's how you convince the brain this is real. You don't become what you want. You become what you believe. Act as if you already are the version you dream of becoming, and the brain will follow. But belief alone isn't enough. To make identity stick, you must reinforce it. And that's where the real war begins. The daily rituals that rewire the mind. Repetition ritual.
Number 3, repetition ritual. Your brain doesn't care what you want. It doesn't care how badly you hope, dream, or intend. It only cares what you repeat. This is where most people fail. Not because they're weak, not because they lack motivation, but because they trust the fire of motivation more than the quiet power of repetition. Motivation is noise, loud, flashy, and gone before you even begin. But repetition, that's code, that's structure, that's how your mind rewires itself from the inside out. Repetition, ritual is not just a habit, it's not routine, it's a conscious act of reclaiming authority over your own programming. Every day, without realizing it, you're already in ritual, scrolling, doubting, delaying, comparing, quitting, and then wondering why you stay the same. Because your brain learns, your brain obeys, your brain repeats what you rehearse, whether it builds you or breaks you. You don't become what you do once, you become what you do daily. Your subconscious watches, listens, and hard codes patterns based on your actions, not your intentions. And if you don't build repetition rituals by design, you'll live by repetitions of default, anxiety, shame, distraction, self-doubt. Think of Kobe Bryant. The legend didn't rise on talent alone. He trained before sunrise, ran the same drills thousands of times, not because he didn't know the moves, but because he was programming his nervous system. So in the moment of pressure, his body and mind moved without hesitation. That's what repetition ritual does. It transforms conscious effort into unconscious power. It turns practice into dominance. So, let me ask you, what are you repeating? You can write affirmations even if your voice trembles. You can do 10 push-ups when your body begs to scroll. You can repeat a new identity even when your old one screams louder. Because transformation doesn't begin with confidence. It begins with command. Say it. Do it. Again, you train not to feel good. You train to win under pressure. And the real magic, repetition ritual, is strongest on the days you don't want it. When everything in you wants comfort and you show up anyway, that's when the code begins to change. That's when the new identity takes hold. So start small, but be ruthless. Read 1 page. Meditate for 2 minutes. Say your goal out loud. Walk without your phone. Speak your truth, and do it again daily without apology. Because greatness isn't built in peaks of passion. It's built in the trenches of repetition. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your rituals. And if you're wondering why your life hasn't changed, look at your rituals. They are your identity in action. But don't stop here, because repetition builds the system. But what happens when that system is under attack? When emotions spike? When resistance hits? When the mind turns into a battlefield? That's when we activate weapon number 4. And trust me, you'll need it. Stay sharp. It's about to get intense. Number 4. Mental warfare mode. Mental warfare mode. In the darkest corners of a solitary prison cell, Navy SEAL Jew Willink once said, "Discipline equals freedom." Not because the bars had disappeared, but because he had trained his mind to obey purpose over pain. His body could be caged, but his mind unbreakable. This isn't poetic idealism, it's mental warfare mode in action. You see, the real battlefield isn't out there, not in your job, your relationships, or your circumstances. The true war is inside your mind. Life will betray you. People will fail you. You will doubt yourself. But your greatest enemy is not the pain nor the pressure. It's that quiet, deceptive voice within you whispering, "Give up." Your brain isn't built for greatness. It's built for survival. It doesn't care if you reach your potential. It cares if you're safe. That's why in moments that demand boldness, your thoughts retreat to comfort. They urge you to delay. They flood you with fear. They choose easy over essential. Unless you consciously train it, your brain will sabotage your mission. Mental warfare mode is not about thinking positively. It's not about waiting for motivation or flooding your mind with empty affirmations. It's about declaring war on your own weakness. It's about showing up even when your feelings scream for escape. It's about discipline over emotion, duty over doubt, and mission over mood. In the Nazi concentration camps, Viktor Frankl lost his family, his freedom, and his future, but not his spirit. Amid unimaginable suffering, he made one radical choice to assign meaning to pain. That choice made him powerful because no one, no man, no force, No cruelty could steal his inner command. And that's your challenge to reclaim command. Mental warfare mode begins the moment you stop waiting to feel ready. You must name the war you're fighting. Is it fear, procrastination, regret? Then you write your battle orders. I am not my emotion. I act on mission. You create rituals of resistance, morning routines that remind you who you are becoming, visualizations that rehearse victory, affirmations not of comfort but of conquest. And above all, remember this truth. What you repeat becomes who you are. Doubt repeated becomes identity. Complaints practiced become character. Quitting rehearsed becomes destiny. But so does strength. So does resolve. Train your mind like a warrior trains for war. Not once, be it every single day. This is not for everyone. But if you're here, it's because something in you knows you're meant to be more than your excuses. Number 5. Self-talk. Rewire. Self-talk. Rewire. In every mental battle, no enemy is more dangerous than the voice inside your head. You hear it every day, sometimes a whisper, sometimes a scream, and slowly you start to believe it as truth. Not because it's true, but because your brain is wired to believe whatever is repeated often enough. Thoughts like, I'm not good enough, I always fail, I can't change. Even when fleeting soon, become the map that guides your life. You're not trapped by external reality. You're stuck in a prison of negative self-talk, a prison you've unknowingly built over the years. Sadly, no one ever taught you how to break free. We're taught how to talk to others, but we're never trained to speak to ourselves like a coach. And so, when opportunity knocks, we doubt it. When failure hits, we assume we were never worthy to begin with. But science has proven self-talk shapes emotion, behavior, and even neurochemistry. A simple phrase like "I'm learning" can increase activity in brain regions responsible for focus and recovery. This isn't fluffy positive thinking. It's biology. Your brain is soil. Your words are the seeds. The philosopher Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Freedom doesn't come from controlling the world. It comes from controlling the story you tell yourself every day. You can have goals, plans, and willpower, but if your inner voice betrays you, you'll trip yourself up before you even take the first step. Take Brian's story, a long-distance runner who used to quit halfway through every race, not because his legs gave out, not because he lacked stamina, but because his inner dialogue whispered the same lie over and over. "I'm not cut out for this." That voice didn't just echo doubt, it programmed defeat. And like most people, Brian didn't realize he wasn't battling the run. He was battling his own subconscious. But one day, he changed the script. He began repeating, "I'm someone who finishes even when it hurts," over and over, every run, every day. At first, nothing seemed different, but by day 30, his mindset shifted. By day 60, quitting felt unnatural, and by day 90, he crossed the finish line of his first marathon. Not because his body transformed, but because his mind was retrained to finish. Your brain obeys repetition. Train it or be trapped by it. If you truly want to train your mind to become unstoppable, start by observing your self-talk. Write it down, question it, replace it, and most importantly, repeat what you want to believe until it becomes real. Say it out loud. Record it. Hear your own voice speak the identity you long to become. You have two choices. Keep living under a negative voice that was never truly yours, or become the architect of your inner language, reshaping your destiny, one sentence at a time. And now, if you're still here, I want to say thank you. The fact that you've made it halfway through this video proves you're serious about your mental training journey. But don't stop now, because the most powerful part is still ahead. In the next section, you'll be introduced to a tool that uses reward delay techniques to rewire discipline, build unshakable grit, and master your dopamine. If you found this valuable, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs this. For now, get ready for the next weapon in your mental arsenal: victory delay mode. Number 6. Victory delay mode. Lily painted in the dark for 10 years. No audience, no praise, no recognition. Each painting was a piece of her soul poured into silence. Every morning she still opened her paints, raised her brush, and kept going, while others gave up on their dreams after just a few months. Then one day, her 3,417th painting was purchased by a renowned collector for a price that made the world take notice. But what changed? Lily's life wasn't the money. It was the mental strength she had forged over a decade. Lily is the embodiment of the mindset of those who dare to live for a result that's worth it, even if it takes a lifetime to arrive. In today's world, where everything happens in seconds, from likes to flashing message notifications, the ability to wait and endure is becoming a superpower. And most people have lost it. They want fast results, instant success, without paying the price. When results don't show up immediately, they quit. But that's not failure. It's spiritual surrender. Because on the battlefield of the mind, the winner isn't the faster one. It's the one who is more persistent. Victory delay mode is a mental weapon, a deep commitment to a long-term goal. It needs no applause. It doesn't crave praise. It runs on discipline. When you step into this mode, you're no longer driven by dopamine or instant rewards. You start living like a Stoic warrior, acting out of principle, not short-term emotion. The famous marshmallow experiment in psychology proved this. Children who could delay gratification had a higher chance of succeeding in every area of life. Why? Because delaying victory is self-mastery, and self-mastery is the foundation of all lasting achievement. Your brain can be rewired to choose hard over easy, vision over impulse, training over surrender. And here's how to do it. Choose a mission worth waiting for, something you're willing to give to, even if no one sees. Track your daily effort. Count how many times you didn't give up, not just the results. And every time you feel slow, whisper to yourself, "My results are delayed, not denied." You don't need to shine right now. You need to last long enough that no one can ignore you. When you train your mind to enter victory delay mode, you don't just win. You become unbreakable. There is no power greater than someone who can wait and still not back down. Number 7. Target lock. Target lock. You don't fail because you lack goals. You fail because you don't lock onto any one goal long enough to hit it. That's why you feel exhausted, but ineffective. You're busy all day, but your mind is dancing between 100 different thoughts, and none of them ever reach the finish line. Target lock is the art of isolation. It's when you lock your entire focus onto one single goal and mute the rest of the world. Like a Stoic sniper in the battlefield of the mind, you don't get thrown off by the noise, the multitasking, the urgent but unimportant. You lock eyes on the target, Keep your gaze steady and pull the trigger. Here's the truth. Your brain isn't built for multitasking. Every time you switch tasks, your brain needs time to reload its focus. Science calls this attention residue, the lingering aftershock of distraction, and that's the silent killer of deep work. The thing that keeps you from entering flow, that rare state where work feels like dancing with your own mind. Time disappears, doubts vanish, and all that's left is pure performance. The more you let your mind be pulled in every direction, the deeper you fall into the loop. More tasks, less depth, mediocre results, a growing sense of uselessness. On the flip side, if you train your target lock, you'll unlock a level of performance you've never touched before. Think of Paul, a bright mind trapped in digital chaos, addicted to social media, unable to sit still for more than 10 minutes, constantly jumping from one distraction to the next. His goals weren't the problem, his mind was. But everything changed in just 6 weeks. No life coach, no miracle, just one deep, focused task per day, executed with ruthless intention, and that was enough. He didn't need more opportunities, he needed fewer excuses. The result, a startup came to life. His confidence, once shattered, began to rebuild. The habits he lost to dopamine loops were reforged in discipline. He stopped reacting. He started commanding. Paul didn't change the world. He changed his brain, and that changed everything. What about you? What would happen if you trained your mind like that? And that could be you too. Want to train target, lock? Start simple. 30 minutes a day. No phone, no multitasking, no distractions. When you sit down, whisper to yourself, "Nothing exists except this." Say it again. Act on it. Your brain will learn, your brain will obey, and eventually you will become the master of your own mind. Don't let distraction steal your life. You don't need more goals. You need one decisive strike, and you can only deliver it when your entire mind is locked on the target. If you've ever felt busy but meaningless, or you're trying to build focus into your life, drop a comment below. What does the weapon of target lock awaken in you? Share your story, because it might just be the spark someone else needs. Dopamine shutdown. Number 8. Dopamine shutdown. You're not lazy. You're not undisciplined. You're being stolen from, not by someone else, but by the little things you touch every day. The harmless scroll on TikTok, the random ping from Instagram, the 7-second video that makes you laugh and instantly forget. They all have one thing in common. They steal your dopamine not to reward you, but to keep you endlessly stimulated, training your brain to forget how to live in stillness and focus. Dopamine. Let's get this straight. T isn't happiness. It's the fuel of pursuit. It's what pushes you to act, to break through, to build, to create. But when you let it drain away on cheap stimuli, your brain loses direction. Instead of seeking reward through discipline and meaningful work, it starts craving reward through laziness, distraction, and delay. The more you scroll, the weaker your brain becomes. The more you entertain yourself, the duller life feels. The painful truth is meaningful things start to feel boring. Reading becomes torture. Deep work feels like climbing a mountain. Sitting alone in silence, something so simple suddenly makes you restless to the point of madness, not because you lack ability, but because your brain has been rewired to crave instant pleasure and avoid discomfort. And that's when you need one thing: dopamine shutdown. Dopamine shutdown is the art of intentional withdrawal, cutting the noise completely from your phone, social media, and addictive food. not to punish yourself, but to reset your nervous system, refresh your senses, and reactivate the deep joy of real life. Have you ever been like Ethan? A young man constantly scrolling through YouTube Shorts is lost in an endless loop of distraction. His days blurred into nights, filled with stimulation but void of purpose. Deep down he knew something was wrong, not with the world but with himself. So for 14 days, Ethan made a decision most wouldn't dare. He removed every source of entertainment. No screens, no noise, just a notebook and a few pages from Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus. The first days were brutal. His fingers twitched for the phone. His brain screamed for dopamine. But by day 5, the fog began to lift. His thoughts grew sharper. Sounds became richer. Light more vivid. Emotions more real. For the first time in years, Ethan wasn't running. He wasn't escaping. He was present, awake, alive, not surviving on scraps of pleasure, but finally living with intention. You can do the same. It doesn't have to be extreme. Just start with one small act. Turn off social media after 6 p.m. or don't touch your phone for 30 minutes after waking up. Instead of consuming, write. Instead of scrolling, walk. Your brain will resist, but eventually it will relearn how to focus, how to be patient, and finally, how to fall back in love with real life. Remember, your enemy isn't laziness. It's relentless stimulation that robs you of your ability to sit with peace. To become unstoppable, you must learn to master your dopamine. You must learn to love discipline more deeply than you crave short-term pleasure. And once you've mastered your dopamine system, it's time to enter the final weapon. The one that can bend even your brain's unconscious reactions and reprogram your entire mental operating system. Get ready for Mind Override. Number 9. Mind Override. There is a war happening not outside, but inside your head. And in this war, the enemy is subtle. It doesn't wear a uniform. It doesn't knock on your door. It whispers. It distracts. It convinces you that you're tired, that you can't, that maybe tomorrow is better. That voice, it's not you. It's the voice of your automatic mind. And unless you learn to override it, it will own you. Mind override is not a concept, it is a discipline. It is the moment when your eyes open and instead of obeying your feelings, you issue the command. When the alarm goes off at 500 a.m. and your body begs for more sleep, mind override is the force that whispers back, "We don't skip greatness." Because every time you surrender to the weak voice, inside you are not just missing a task, you are training your brain to fail. You are reinforcing a pattern, a neural pathway, a future. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. This is the essence of mind override. You cannot stop the first thought. It appears like thunder. It is a product of biology, habit, and memory. But the second thought, that is yours to command. That is where greatness is decided not by talent, not by chance, but by your ability to interrupt the default. Without this override, you become the slave of impulse. You believe your fears, you obey your doubts. You fall into comfort like a drug, chasing dopamine and avoiding pain. And slowly, almost without noticing, you become average. Not because you are, but because you forgot you had a choice. Think of Brandon, the boy who wanted to become a pro elite. Every morning he faced the same thought: stay in bed. It's cold. No one's watching. But he trained himself to answer with command, not complaint. His brain over time stopped resisting because the brain learns what you repeat, not what you wish for. Now that simple override became his edge, his advantage, his weapon. In everyday life, you meet the same test. You plan to read, but you scroll instead. You want to study, but you delay. You say you'll go to the gym, but your mind whispers, just this once, skip it. That whisper has power unless you have trained your override. Mind override is a muscle, and like any muscle, it grows through repetition, resistance, and pain. When you say no to the automatic response and yes to the command, you are not just winning a moment. You are rewriting your identity. You must speak to your brain the way a general speaks to his army, with clarity, force, and direction. Say it aloud. I don't negotiate with fear. Say it again. This is who I am now. Your brain doesn't care what you want. It cares what you repeat. So repeat strength, repeat courage, repeat action. Because in the end, you are not your thoughts. You are the commander of your thoughts. And if you do not train your mind to obey you, it will train you to obey it. This is not about motivation. This is mental warfare. This is Stoicism reborn in the modern world, not as philosophy to read, but as fire to live by. Train your override or be overrun by everything you're trying to escape. Now, the choice, conclusion, is yours. Will you just watch this video, or will you live it? Will you merely remember these mental weapons, or will you draw them daily to conquer yourself? Because the truth is, no one's coming to save you, and no one can train your mind except you. But today, you already hold what you need. You've learned how to break the old programming. You know how to override the mind to train your willpower, your identity, your dopamine, and your resilience. The brain is no longer the enemy. It's your most powerful weapon if you know how to wield it. Sharpen it every day like a warrior forging his sword in silence. If this video woke something up in you, if something inside has shifted, don't walk away while the journey is still unfolding. Watch the next videos. Your path to mental greatness is just beginning.